Hello everyone, and welcome to the pilot episode of Sketchbook Saturdays. This is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. Every week, I'll be drawing and talking art, animation, OCs, fandoms, writing, and everything in between. Gotta warn you though, not the most qualified artist for something like this, since I'm still learning new things about art every single day. I'm also not sure if I'll continue this series, which is why this is the pilot episode. For those of you who don't know, a pilot episode is kind of like a test run for a show, to see if people like the idea. So, if you'd like to see more stuff like this from me, be sure to comment below and let me know. Now, let's finally get to what I'm drawing today. This is a redraw of a piece I drew in 2019 called Lost and Found, featuring a scene from my series. At the time I drew this, I was really proud of it, but looking back at it now, yeesh. So I decided I'd give drawing it again a try, to see for myself how far my art has come. Here, you can see some of my sketching process. For more dynamic pieces like this, with complicated poses, I like to thumbnail out what exactly everything's gonna look like. Once I'm happy with the general idea of the composition, I work out my sketch and go from there. Next, you can see me changing from Tool SAI to Adobe Animate to do the line art, coloring, and shading. Most artists generally keep to one program when they draw, but I like to make things complicated for myself. I spend a lot of time animating in Adobe Animate, and though it's a difficult experience at times, I've come to really love lining using a vector layer. Specifically, Animate's vector layer. I know SAI has one, but it's so difficult for me to work with, even though I'm sure it's a lot simpler than I'm making it out to be in my head. A vector layer, for those of you who've never heard of one, is a layer that lets you more easily edit lines that have already been drawn. Unlike raster layers, which are the layers you're probably more familiar with, vector layers aren't pixel-based, which means that you can blow it up as big or as small as you want without hurting the resolution. However, I find it hard to draw naturally using a vector layer, so I tend to paint and sketch with raster layers and then do more technical work, like line art, with vector layers. After I've lined my drawing, I start to draw lines to indicate where I'm going to put my color. In Animate, my shading, coloring, and line art is all in the same layer, so nothing goes beneath anything. I do it this way because I find this method easy to give everything a nice, clean look, but I can definitely see how other artists might think this is kinda crazy. I'm using green lines to indicate important colors like markings, purple lines to indicate shading, and then light blue to indicate highlights. After that, I start filling everything in. I'm changing the characters' colors to be slightly more blue than they were before, since they're going to be underwater. That way, they'll blend more into their environment once I add the background. Side note, the paint bucket in Animate is just so much more agreeable than Sai's. I love Sai to death, but sometimes this paint bucket tool gives me a migraine. Once everything is filled in, I get to scribble all over my guidelines so that I can select and delete them all at once. Then I go in and clean things up a little bit more. I'm on the hunt for white spaces, little bits of guidelines I might have missed, and anything else that needs to be fixed up. Now I export the lined, colored, and shaded characters back into Sai to really make the scene come to life. Here, I'm painting a nice bright blue ocean with some ominous stone structures on the seafloor. The previous version of this piece didn't really have much of a background, so I really wanted to do my best to fix that this time around. While I'm painting and working on overlays here, I figured this might be a good time to explain a little bit more about what's going on. These characters are 2 OCs for my series Wolves of Sicily, which is an upcoming animated series. The first episode is a little over midway through production. This picture, which I've renamed Rescue, features my OC Torias, who has fallen into the sea after receiving a nasty injury. Rena, a mysterious and powerful being, has dived in after him. She hopes to save him in order to preserve an ancient connection they have to one another. Can't say a lot more than that, since this is actually a pretty spoilery moment, but if you'd like to learn more about Wolves of Sicily, be sure to stick around my channel. If this video works out, I'd love to introduce you to the main characters of the show in the possible next episode of Sketchbook Saturdays. Anyway, here's the finished result. Compared to the last version, I'm very happy with how this turned out, and seeing this with the character redesigns is so much fun. If you're ever feeling like you're not improving your art, I highly recommend going back and trying to redraw one of your previous pieces. It's a great way to show you how far you've come and boost your confidence. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them below, and I'll do my best to answer. Otherwise, this is Z checking out. Stay cool and keep creating.